I recently watched a movie called Thanksgiving, and there were quite a few lessons that I learned from watching it that are worth talking about. So that's what this is. This is part, oh man, what are we at now? Part 5 in a series I'm doing where I talk about each of the lessons. So stay tuned if you're interested. This channel exists to encourage you to continue to be a good person through lessons primarily rooted in biblical and Stoic principles. So without further ado, let's get into lesson number 5 from the movie Thanksgiving. There's a scene pretty early on in the film where the main characters are at a diner, and as they leave, or it might even be as they're still there, the sheriff of the town shows up to the diner and he's talking to some of the employees, and as he's in the diner, he mentions that a new deputy is now on the team. So cut to outside, the people that are showing up at the diner, the deputy being one of them, he drives in on his, it's not quite a monster truck, but it is, I'd say an extra truck. It is, it's big, it's got the big tires and such. He drives in, nearly crashes into the car of someone that's leaving, and so the deputy rolls down his window and says F you, essentially. Well, yeah, I think that's exactly what he says to the man that he almost hit, and then so the man says the same thing, and then they drive off. Later that night, there was an attack on one of the employees that worked at the diner, and the police are checking out the scene the next day, and the deputy is there as well, and he is introduced to I think it's an FBI agent, but he's some kind of detective regardless. And the sheriff says to the deputy, "Oh, hey, this is the detective. Have you met him yet?" And the deputy says, "Yeah, we met." He reluctantly says, because that was the guy that he nearly ran into and then basically told off. So that's always like a cringe moment when someone you thought you were never going to see again, so you treated poorly. Well, I say always as if that's a common occurrence, but I'm sure it would be awkward. Similar instances like this have happened to me in a way, not exactly this, but to name an example. I worked at an amusement park earlier this year, and I didn't know who the higher-ups were. I knew who the main boss was at the facility I worked at, but there were people, I guess, higher than him in the ladder of the business. So that meant anyone that came into the park before it was open could have been an owner of the park, and I just had no way of knowing. So that led me to want to treat them well, just in case, if I seen some guy I didn't recognize, older fellow, it's like, oh, this could be an owner of the company. But truth be told, I should have treated them well anyway. So the lesson then is, for additional incentive to treat others well, consider the fact that you may see them again, or that they will later be your higher up in some way. But treat people well with respect and love anyway, for its own sake. But again, just let it be an encouragement or additional incentive. So then, while we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, and especially to those who are of the household of the faith. Galatians 6:10. I was raised to treat the janitor with the same respect as the CEO. That's a quote from Tom Hardy. And let's all do that, but let's also consider this angle of the idea. Treat the janitor as if he was the CEO. Then realize that you should treat him that way regardless, namely with respect and love. Obviously, I'm not saying, oh, you have to answer to the janitor like he's the CEO, but I'm saying the respect aspect and just being good. Love is never wasted, for its value does not rest upon reciprocity. That is a C.S. Lewis quote. So to quickly reiterate, consider that everyone you interact with, you may end up seeing again, or they may even be or become your higher up in some way. Everyone is your superior in some way, not in value, but in some realm of expertise. But that's a whole nother discussion. But again, let that be an incentive to treat them well. Then let that practice lead you to acknowledge that you should be treating people with that love, respect, and goodness anyway. Then let goodness, which is loving God and loving your neighbor for its own sake, be your incentive, or become your incentive, I suppose. Again, this video is part of a series I'm doing, so there are 4 parts already out. So if you did enjoy this video or got some value out of it, or both, hopefully, then certainly check out parts 1 through 4 and stay tuned for the rest of the episodes, because there are more on the way. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope that this helps you in some way. Remember to treat others the way that you want to be treated, to love God and love your neighbor, and therefore you will continue to be a good person. As always, it's an honor.